Hello everyone and welcome to WhiskyWars and take 2 of the Peated Irish. I recorded this video, recorded the audio fine this time, and this time there was no visuals, so deep breaths. We'll go again. I'll pour a bit more of the Hinch and the Connemara, which are our 2 whiskies to review today, 2 peated Irish whiskies. The Hinch is bottled at 43% and the Connemara at 40%. We won't be able to get my first reactions to the whiskies because I just recorded that. So we'll go straight into it. On the Connemara, straight away you get apples and pears quite dominantly, as you would expect from an Irish, but maybe what you wouldn't expect from an Irish is it doesn't taste like actual apples and pears. It's more of an artificial candy, apple and pear flavoured sweet. That sort of artificial sweetness, if you know what I mean, where it's not just sweet, but also maybe a little bit of sour in there as well. They're the 2 dominant notes in the Connemara. Underneath that, there's a lovely herbal presence to it. For me, it's heather, and then maybe a touch of rosemary or sage to it. It's really pleasant. Really good nose, and I'll go on to the taste before I get to the Hinch. Honey too, if I mention that. On the taste, the apple and pear potency tones down a bit, but it's still there. And you get more of that honeyed water. It's a watery whiskey. It's a simple whiskey, and it's an easy drinking whiskey. Not all those things are bad, by the way. Every now and then, in fact, Connemara could be a wonderful daily. It really could. Very easy to drink. Very simple. You don't have to think hard when you drink this. In fact, I only get five notes in this whiskey. If you get any more notes than that, please leave them in the comments below, because I always like learning, and I'm sure some of the other viewers will find that interesting too. Good whiskey though. On to the Hinch. It's just a terrible whiskey. Would this entice you if the first note I think of when I smell this whiskey is chemicals? And secondly, that the label should have warning and beware on it. It's a heavily peated malt, and I give it a big thumbs up for that, because I've always wanted to try, being a big fan of peat, I've always wanted to try peated Irish malts. And the Hinch is that, and it is heavily peated. And so for that, I'm a big thumbs up for it. But the execution is just horrible. Overdose of chemicals. It's like being in the middle of a battery plant that's just had a fire. Burnt rubber, metals. In fact, I bought this whiskey a couple of months ago, and I've only started reviewing it now because it was unbearable when I first opened it. I forced quite a bit down just to see if it would open up, and it does open up, which is a positive. That potency of the chemicals it really tones down, but it's still there, and it gives way to some sweetness, namely apples and honey, which improves the whiskey. So heavy peat, chemicals, and a little bit of apple and pear honey sweetness. Onto the taste. short finish, not a long one. Both of these have short finishes. It's difficult because it's like the whiskey is trying to be the Ardbeg of the Irish world, and the peat wise, it's there. It's just maybe that peat, the execution of it is giving off this horrible chemical taste, and so I can see what they're trying, and I'm a big fan of what they're trying to achieve. They just haven't achieved it, and they've been left with an inferior product here. It's one of the worst whiskies that I've reviewed by a mile, and I wouldn't recommend anyone go out to get it. That being said, if the idea of a bad whiskey actually appeals to you because you might learn something, or it's just intriguing to taste a bad whiskey, by all means try it. Both these whiskies are bottled at, well, the Hinch is at 43%, the Connemara is at 40%, and they're both priced around low 30s to mid 30s in price. I think the Hinch comes out slightly more expensive as well. So I think the winner today is an easy one, and please, actually, in the comments, if any of you have tried the Hinch peated whiskey, please let me know how you found it, because I don't want to give unnecessarily bad reviews and slate a whiskey where it's not as bad as what I've said. That being said, I can only be honest with how I find a whiskey, and I'll never, not be honest in a review. So let me know in the comments down below if you don't mind this whiskey or you quite like it. But for me, the winner is the famous Connemara. As always, guys, if you liked the video or found it helpful in any way, maybe you were thinking about getting Hinch before and now you've been put off, please drop a like or subscribe to the channel. It's greatly appreciated. So, but thanks for watching.